YouTube and happy Wednesday. Thank you for tuning into my channel. And you're probably wondering, Amanda, what was with those books? I brought those books out to make a point because, as you can tell from the title of the video, this is why I hate Twilight. Now, a lot of people's hatred of Twilight is unjustified because they haven't read the books, they haven't seen the movie, they're just like, it's so popular and it's so stupid, I don't like it. I've never seen it, I don't want to read it or anything. But my hatred of Twilight is perfectly justified because I have in fact read the first two books, I have seen the first two movies. I still hate it. I hate it. I'm sorry. Now, when I read Twilight, I'm not sure if you've gathered this from my channel yet, but I'm just going to come out and say it. I really like vampires. When I was in 8th grade, Twilight was first making its big debut, its big appearance. It's becoming huge. And this girl came up to me one day, she's like, hey, you like vampires? You should read Twilight. I'm like, okay, cool. Something about vampires. Haven't read a good vampire novel in, I don't know, 2 days. I'll read a vampire novel. And I didn't have the chance to go to the bookstore. I'm kind of glad I didn't. Because I have a tendency to, if somebody recommends a book, I just go and buy it. Sad but true. And so I got on the waiting list for Twilight at my school's library. It took me 2 weeks to get Twilight. And so I read Twilight, got into Twilight, and I was like, okay. The writing kind of sucks, the plot kind of sucks. And I'm reading and like, I was writing like this when I was in 3rd grade. I'm like, okay, so the writing sucks, but I have a very, very, very overactive imagination. I can imagine this. I can kind of see what she's saying. And then Edward started to sparkle. And then she later revealed that the idea came to her in her dream. And I'm pretty sure she was just too afraid to admit that she was dreaming about fairies. Now, when you consider the fairy realm, blood-sucking fairies, it's not too far off. You know, you can have blood-sucking anything. Blood-sucking fairies, vampiric fairies, yeah. But you can have vampiric fairies, but you can't have fairy vampires. It's kind of like how a square is technically a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. It just doesn't work. And there was a lot of just this deep connection that I wasn't getting from Twilight. I just wasn't. There's this girl just totally obsessed with this guy. Well, the next year I had this group of friends that were totally obsessed with Twilight. And I was really I didn't want to be like, well, by the way, I hate Twilight, because I was kind of afraid of losing friendship. That sounds ridiculous, but that's what happened. And after a while, they convinced me to read New Moon. They're like, oh, it's so much better than the first book, you'll love it. So I read the second book. And there's this section in there that's like, it has the name of months. It's like October, next page, November, next page, December, next page. She writes a little paragraph for January, next page, February. It's like, what? And then one of those friends came up to me and she's like, did you get to the part with just the months? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, it's so emotional. That's what gets you emotional. Really? Really? This just sounds like an abusive relationship and a super clingy lady to me. And the thing that got me emotional was those trees that they wasted on those pages could have been used in a printing of Dracula instead of Twilight. That's what upset me. After I finished New Moon is about Bella being upset about how Edward left her. And she jumps off a cliff, and she wrecks a motorcycle, and she approaches bikers that could kill her because she gets this delusion of Edward, and that's her only connection to Edward that's left. She's delusional, okay? There's something wrong with her head. Alright? That's the problem right there. And so when I finished New Moon, they're like, oh my gosh, how did you like it? I'm like, I hated it. That was the worst book I have ever read. Oh, but the second one is actually the worst of the entire series. You need to read the 3rd and 4th one. Okay. So let me get this perfectly clear. The second book is better than the first book, but it's also the worst of the entire series. You're kind of contradicting yourself there, giving yourself a double standard. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to read any more Twilight. I'm not. And you've got to understand where my problem is. Like I said, I read a lot of classics. The Picture of Dorian Gray forces you to contemplate vanity and how it can ruin your life. The Count of Monte Cristo forces you to contemplate karma and how what goes around comes around, basically. Dracula forces you to contemplate how much hate can be in a single person towards another single person. And the Scarlet Pimpernel forces you to contemplate the type of hate that a society can have, and the bravery of people who try to stop it. That's why Twilight doesn't make the cut. So I hope you enjoyed my little rant on Twilight and why I don't like it. And, you know, if you're a Twihard, if you like Twilight, tell me why. Tell me why you like Twilight, what Twilight means to you, and maybe, okay, I'll never read it. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read any more of it. Not going to watch any more movies. No, not going to do that. Sorry. But if you have any other favorite book that you would recommend to me, tell me why. Tell me what it means to you, and I'll read it. Probably. You know what? Any other comments are more than welcome. Just, you know, talk to me. Talk to me about books and movies, and, you know, have a great Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or whenever you watch this. Have a great day. And, you know, don't let my hatred of Twilight damper your love of Twilight if you have a love of Twilight. And if my hatred of Twilight inspires you never, ever, 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 ever to pick up the books, then you go. You're awesome. So that is it. I will see you probably next Wednesday, unless I decide to make another video before then.